Oh, that's amazing. Great. Welcome everyone to Indian Debating League's 3.0's second day of training session. What I will be doing today is making you go through everything that Indian Debating League has done so far. Second, introduction of the theme and an in-depth knowledge about what the theme really asks you to do. So every question that you have been having for so long will be ensuring that you actually understand it pretty well. So just trust me. Thirdly, I will be ensuring that we discuss few motions in order to understand what we are expecting from you and how you can probably have maximum amount of knowledge from it in the very first place. Great. So note, this year's theme is in ancient India to AI-led India. Yesterday's session, we covered exponentially and multifariously about how India has progressed so far. So if you look at the theme, it genuinely talks about the evolution of India from like Harappa civilization to G20 or the AI-led technology that we actually live in the very first place. This looks like introduction of ChatGPT in the country right now and how like Google and like multiple people who are Indian are becoming CEOs and CTO officers in biggest of the multinational companies. This looks like Google, this looks like PepsiCo, this looks like Microsoft, etc. So this is like an entire journey, and we will be asking you to speak on what you feel about it in the very first place. Great. So I have discussed this in the previous session, but I will be repeating it to ensure that we are on top of it in the very first place. Ideal 3.0 will be giving you 4 things. First, growth mindset, because like debating is not something that really makes you stagnate. Like a lot of people love debating. Yesterday we had this immense amount of conversation about why do people love debating. Do we have anybody like Ahan, do you really want to talk about why do you like debating?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to talk maybe why do you like debating? Because you missed yesterday's session, so I want to ensure that you are probably a part of this conversation.
The reason I like debating is because, well, actually gives me like views on different perspectives on different motions. Like earlier, I used to think that cats, like that, dogs are better than cats. But once was given a topic in which I said the cats are better than dogs, and now I actually have a mutual respect for cats and all that. That's just like an example. But debate has actually helped me see many things from different perspectives.
Oh, that's amazing. Great. Ahan, I completely agree with you. Saher, if that's your name, I'm so sorry if I really mispronounce it. I am just getting used to it. But yeah, people have missed yesterday's session. I'm giving you guys a chance. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Seher. So basically, I like debating because it's, of course, first of all, it expands your knowledge and all. And then secondly, I like to prove my point. And it's fun to actually, where you're making mistakes or you get to know the other person's point of view. And I think the most fun part for me is that proving my own point to others, because that's about it.
That's amazing. Trina.
Yeah, so I like debating because like Ahan said, I become more open-minded, and my knowledge increases, and I become more social and comfortable, and in speaking, my speech really improves and I'm more confident.
Oh, that's amazing. Great. I will be taking more hands later because we have a lot of questions to answer. Second, reflective thinking. I mean, it's very important for you to like think thrice and research well when you actually start debating in the very first place. It gives you an opportunity for you to start thinking in a much more reflective manner. So reflective can be anything in a team. It can be individualistic reflection. It can be an expression where you start discussing with your let's say coaches, where you start discussing with your parents, where you actually have a conversation with your like grandparents, etc. So reflective thinking actually allows you to broaden your mindset. Thirdly, I think confident and how you probably express yourself. So just debating gives you a lot of opportunities for you to actually be confident. And people who have been debating for so long, if you look at them now, I think you will see an immense amount of change in their manner, in their matter, and in their method. So it gives you a leeway in terms of how you can be confident. So ensure that you keep debating because it can genuinely change as a person, and it changes and modifies the way you probably have conversations in a regular basis. Thirdly, I think it helps you engage with global citizens. Like obviously, even in Indian Debating League, you will be meeting so many people across the subcontinent, and then you will be having like a lot of discussion, and you will be like, hey, it's actually fun, and it's actually very wonderful to have discussion with multiple people. I will be discussing the important dates and what are the relevant information now. Great. So this year's theme is India's Odyssey in ancient India to AI-led India. So this is something that we exponentially discussed in the yesterday's session, where you probably have to start debating from the genesis of it. So, this is something that I also did yesterday in terms of telling you why classrooms actually help you think from extremely categorical ways. So you will have subjects like history, you will have subjects like science, you will have subjects like social science, you will have subjects like chemistry, biology. So you will have everything in compartments. But here, when you actually start debating in Indian Debating League, you will be making sure that you integrate science, social science, and you don't really box it out. You actually use science and social science. You use history and maybe like social sciences. It's basically a part of social science, but you try to integrate multiple aspects, because everything can have political aspect, everything can have social aspect, everything can have economical aspect, and you will be absolutely fine with that. Great. So note, there are 36 teams across 28 states and 8 union territories which will be participating. So you will be getting 3 chances to qualify as a part of state team. I will give out that relevant information in the later slides. So just have patience and just trust me, you will be getting all sorts of information. Second, I think top 42 individuals, top 42 teams will be a part of Indian Schools Debating Society National Camp and Quiz Rounds. So note, Indian Schools Debating Society holds this tournament called Indian Schools Debating Championship, which is actually happening, like the out rounds are happening in Chennai on 22nd of October. So it's actually like a part of view for you to enter World Schools Debating Championship. So, top 42 people who will actually be participating in this tournament, like the top bracket of people, will now be qualifying for the national camp, like the quiz rounds of national camp. So you will then be getting like a second a quick pathway to participating in World Schools Debating Championship. And I think that'll be like a biggest opportunity. I'll take that down, Pratham.
Yes, ma'am. So the top 42 is per category or overall?
I'm so sorry.
Ma'am, are the top 42 students going to be per category 42 students or overall?
Can you speak a little louder?
Are the students going to be per category, like middle category and senior category and the junior category all having 42 each, or totally 42 students?
Total. You wouldn't be having like 42 people from each category, because we've had like 500 plus registrations. So we obviously everything has to be a competition. So we can't really have like 42 people from each category. That'd be like a huge amount of people breaking. Great. Third is you get sorry, do you have a counter question?
Approximately how many per category?
I'm so sorry.
How many per category approximately?
I would say it would last from 15 to 17.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Third thing is called Pan-Indian Recognition and Certificates for All. Note, I think this is something that we discussed yesterday as well, how important for you to maintain a good CV, and quality actually matters a lot. So it's very important for you to ensure that you have multiple certificates and you have recognition from really quality debating competition in the very first place. So, an exposure to the biggest of the debating championships in a school level really gives you an advantage over applying to many colleges. Let's say if you want to apply for Ivy Leagues, this looks like Oxford, Princeton, Harvard, or if you really want to go abroad or maybe get a higher rank in extracurricular activities within Indian universities, I think these Pan-Asian recognition and these certificates and these letter of recommendations really help you to move forward very easily. Kian, yes, always raise your hand, but yeah.
Yeah, like I was asking on 4th grade, but like this is 6th to 8th grade batch, right? So should I like leave or should I stay?
Yes. So you can also stay, because something that I also wrote in the group, that you can stay and maybe understand what is happening, and this is like a real life tournament experience for you. So yes, you can also stay. You can watch the recording later. It works with you. So Kian is my student. So this is not a leeway for everybody who's actually listening right now. You guys have to stay because you're participating in the tournament. So yeah, great. Kian, your choice. Fourthly, in terms of like wildcard, so if you qualify and you actually like break really high, you will get a wildcard entry to Harvard and Stanford Invitational, which is happening next year in 2024. The dates will be released by the organizing committee of Harvard and Stanford really quick. So yes, you will get 4 things. Everything has been written in the slide and I've explained it pretty well. Now coming to the important dates that we have to care about. I want you to take a screenshot or just like memorize it. You can also write it down, but the easiest way is to use the technology at its best. Just like take a screenshot. So note, there's a training session, which means it started yesterday. It's going to end, like we are having those training sessions last till 21st, because we want to have maximum amount of like doubts cleared, and we want to ensure that all of you actually understand what the format is, right? So note, the important dates of the training is 9th to 11th, which means it's going to end tomorrow when we actually have practical mocks, etc. But if you want to get your doubts cleared, I would request you to join at any point of time. That's absolutely fine. The time remains same. Second is qualifiers. When is the tournament actually starting and why do we have to care? Qualifiers is when everybody who is actually participating in this tournament will be coming back on 26th October, and they will be participating, and you will be extremely I will be extremely like a huge fan of all of you if you try to come in and just like participate, because it'll be like a lovely experience. I'm actually telling you, it's just like an extremely fun experience to be in like ideal tournaments. So yes, 26th October will be the first day of the tournament, and it will be lasting till 7th November. We will be releasing the schedule very soon, and we will be keeping you all informed. So don't worry at all, and we will be ensuring that all of you get the emails and your parents are actually kept updated. So you don't have to worry. And if you think you have any sort of doubts, just like approach us. No issues. Just write it to Hello Ogly, and we will be sharing email IDs as well. Great. Thirdly, finals. So note, qualifiers is online, but finals, people who actually like top 10, top 15 people, we will be releasing the number of teams who actually qualify, will be participating in the semi-finals and finals in IIT Delhi, which will be happening at the end of November. We will be releasing all the doubts and all the schedules and everything very soon, because we're already like running way before the schedule, and everybody like do not worry about the schedule, because like we will be ensuring it's out very soon. I'll just check the chat box. It's like 12 messages as of now. Great, cool. Quickly moving to the theme. Note, I will be discussing this extensive theme very soon as well, because I have prepared motions for you to get a real life impact as well. But there are 3 categories and 3 divisions of themes. First is ancient India, where you actually discuss the rise of Harappa civilization, and you discuss like various religions in ancient India as well, like the diversity. Secondarily, medieval India. So medieval India probably has like Mughal architecture, or like the rise of Mughals, like Humayun, Babur, and all of these aspects, like the Rajputana dynasty, all of these things. Thirdly, modern India. Modern India starts from the aspect where you were colonized as an Indian subcontinent, and you had like multiple levels of like industrialization, and then like the technology came in, and currently we had G20, etc. So we have divided the theme into 3 dynamics. So your research also is located. So start studying about ancient India, then medieval India, then modern India. Get a general idea of what all of these themes actually look like. Okay, great. So I just gave this imprint so you guys know where you have to get your research done. So, just why is it really important? Because a lot of people find history to be really boring. Just like when you debate and when you form opinions about history, I think, and history, science, social science, I think it becomes very interesting for you to have those conversations between rounds as well. And you get like qualitative feedback from judges as well. Great. Coming to the main aspect of this entire session. People who've missed it and people who are joining once again, I want you to get yourself very, very clear about what the format is. It's not Asian parliamentary debate at all. I hope I'm not speaking too fast. Works well. Everybody's on pace. No doubts as of now. I haven't taken any doubts. But yes, any doubts, guys? I'll just like stop here for 5 seconds. No doubts.
I have one doubt that as you said, our sessions, no, like after our qualifying, it will be till 27. Can we join at any date, or will it be like we'll get our appointment or the time?
So the training sessions happen from like it started yesterday. It's gonna end at 21st. So you can't really join it anytime because the time is fixed. It's 6:30 to 8. So you have to ensure and you have to indicate whether you want to join like today, whether you want to join tomorrow, etc. But you know, these 3 like sessions are very important. Like if you complete 9, 10, 11, then you wouldn't be facing any issues anyway. So it's just gonna be a repetition. Works well.
Ma'am, but I'm talking about like the qualifiers.
Oh, like no. Qualifiers is like a specified time. We can't have appointments for it. So qualifiers actually start like 20. Wait, hold up. 26th of October ends at 7 November. We will be releasing the schedule very soon. Don't worry, like you don't have to take an appointment.
So like can we do it any day, like the specific time limit, or we'll get the day that today you have?
You will get the date. That's what I said. Schedule will be out.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Great. Ojasvi?
Yeah. So I was wondering like 2 things. Firstly, is the reply speech same as the rebuttal one?
Sorry.
Is the reply speech the same as the rebuttal round?
I would say yes, but I will be getting into the nuances of it very soon. Like reply speeches also
Right.
ask you for like a little conclusion as well. So don't worry about it. We'll
You
just
can't
be getting
rebut
at
and
it.
reply.
Uh,
You can only
Uh,
rebut and whip. Reply are only supposed to summarize and make. You're not allowed to rebut and reply.
But 1v1 format like allows you to be a little responsive, but that responsive actually allows you to be like extremely wayful as well. So not explicit rebutts, which is why I told you, just like hold up.
and secondly, I was wondering like will there be are POIs allowed?
POIs are not allowed.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Please raise your hand. Ahan, just don't interrupt. Yes, I will take Seher. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yeah, that's right. So I wanted to know. So I watched yesterday's recording. So in that, there was like, will it be like in one match you're being the opposition, and then in the other round you'll be representing the proposition? Will it be like that?
Oh yes, we will be having a tabby system where you will get the draws. So you will be informed whether you're opposition or whether you'll be proposition. So don't worry about it.
Okay.
Great. Nithilian. Wait, your name is so nice. Like, can you tell me how's it pronounced?
Ma'am, Nithilan, ma'am.
Okay, works.
Ma'am, my doubt is in the war is the speech. No, ma'am, is the debate similar to a turncoat, just 1 versus 1, or is it like is there a little bit more differences than a turncoat?
It's 1 versus 1. It's not turncoat. Turncoat is one person has to speak both prop and op, but you will have two people. One person will speak prop, the other speaker will speak op. It's not turncoat.
No, ma'am, I'm not asking whether it is turncoat or not, ma'am. I'm asking whether the format is similar to a turncoat, except it's going to be 1v1.
It's 1v1. It's not similar to turncoat.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Great. Nithilian is done. Just like lower down your hand so I know how many people have doubt. Yes, I'll take Viraj and Ahan and then Trina, and then I'm gonna be moving ahead. Yes, Viraj.
Yes, ma'am. So I just had one doubt. So this is that first the proposition will speak its speech, then the opposition, then the proposition will give a reply speech. Will the reply speech to be the opposition speech?
No, it will be prop reply, then op reply.
No,
I
my
will be
question.
explaining it.
Okay, ma'am.
Great. Trina.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, is there going to be any heckling allowed?
I'm so sorry.
Is there going to be any heckling allowed?
No, you can't really heckle.
Okay.
Jeez. Oh my God, why is this a question? Ask relevant questions, man. Ahan.
That's a favor.
Ma'am, will the 1v1 will that
Kaushiki, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to speak to this gentleman called Vaibhav. I'm just watching the chat. Folks, you will please focus on this training, and I don't want any personal conversation, or any questions out of context. And I'm making this very clear once and for all. Because if any one of you is removed from the Zoom room, you'll not be allowed entry again for the next tournament. Kaushiki, please carry on, and I want to see the recording after this on the chats, please. Thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Great. Ahan, go ahead with your doubt and then I'll be moving ahead.
Okay, ma'am, will there be reply speeches in the 1v1?
Yes, it is right there in front of the slide. I will be explaining everything.
Okay, ma'am.
Great. Cool. 1v1 format will be in qualifiers and we will be notifying any like modifications, everything very, very soon. But this is the format for the qualifiers. You will have two sides, proposition and opposition. Proposition is somebody who supports the motion. So let's say this house believes that cats are better than dogs. So proposition is like cats are better. Opposition is like dogs are better. So proposition will have a 3-minute main speech. Opposition will then have a 3-minute main speech. And then you will have a proposition reply, which is going to be for 3 minutes. And then opposition reply, which is going to be for 3 minutes. So you will have 6 minutes per speaker divided into main speaker, which means main speech. And then you will have your reply speech. Works well? Is everybody clear with it? I don't mind repeating it. I'll just repeat it. So let's say the topic is this house believes that oranges are better than apples. So proposition speech is basically the one who supports the motion, and opposition speech is the one who opposes the motion, basically goes against what the government is trying to say, which means whatever the proposition is trying to imply. So proposition speech will be consisted of 3 minutes of main speech, in which you will actually tell why do you like oranges and why should everybody care about oranges, what is orange, why should you like it, pros, everything. Opposition, on the other hand, is going to discuss why apples are better and why oranges are bad. So you will probably integrate your rebuttals in your main speech. I will be discussing all of this in depth in the next slide, but I'm just giving you an intro so that everybody has a clear idea of what we are trying to go ahead with it in the very first place. I will also be integrating an activity where I will be inviting 2 people. I will be selecting them a little later, and then I will ask you guys to actually give a 3-minute constructive speech, and then I will ask other 2 people to give like reply speeches, just so that I can have maximum people trying to participate. Great, but only 2 people are participating. One becomes proposition, other becomes opposition. Proposition has to give 2 speeches, main speech, reply speech. Opposition has to give like 2 speeches. This looks like 3-minute main speech, 3-minute reply speech. Works well? Everybody is clear? Okay, amazing. Moving ahead. Right. Checking a doubt in the chat box. We'll get a total of 3 qualifying rounds with 3 separate motions on 3 separate days, or all on the same day. Note, everything is correct. Yuvan says each participant will get a total of 3 qualifying rounds. Yes. With 3 separate motions. Yes. On 3 separate days. Yes. It is not on the same day. Works well? Great. So note, constructive speakers. Can somebody tell me what is a constructive?
Ma'am, can I answer?
Yes, go ahead, Saket.
So constructive is like a speech where you bring most of your material and not much rebuttals are there. Kind of like a PM speech in WSDC, as opposed to like speech like whips and replies who aren't like whips are constructive. I mean reply, which isn't a constructive speech where you mostly just rebut. In constructive speeches, you can bring most your arguments, but in non-constructive speeches, you're not allowed to do so.
Yeah, that works well. Absolutely nice. Vedant?
Yeah, ma'am. So basically, constructives are the speech in which you bring most of your main arguments and evidences, and you don't really put rebuttals. That's safe for your reply and whip.
Works well. I'll take Neil and then I'll move forward.
Ma'am, so constructive is when you're talking about your topic and why it is good or why it is bad or why it is better from other topics. You're talking about the pros of you're talking about the pros of your topic and why people should follow or think about your topic.
Yes, exactly. So the simplest way to actually note this is constructive means main. And I hope you've heard about this word called constructive criticism. Constructive is basically quality. And for you to better understand this, always remember this word called main. So obviously, every speech will have a structure. And in this speech, you will try to matter dump a lot. So, let's say the motion is this house prefers cars over bicycle. So let's say you're a proposition speaker first, and you will have your first speech. So your first speech, you're responsible to tell why do you prefer cars, because in which you will actually be saying your main points, and you will be ensuring that you actually bring the pros, as Neil says, and you bring in the main points which you actually want to discuss and you want to put in front of the judges. So this looks like cars are better because it's like it's well equipped with engines, diesels, etc. All of these factors. Second, cars are much more smoother in terms of like driving, having better facility. Thirdly, you can like add a lot of points. Like cars are also becoming much more electric, so you do not have like concerns like pollution, etc. But yes, this actually looks like that you want to defend your stance. So let's say the motion is, again, I'm giving you multiple motions so that everybody gets what am I trying to say here. So this house prefers pencils over pens. So you need to defend why do you prefer pencil on proposition and why do you prefer pens on opposition. And you have to bring in your strong points and ensure that you bring like points which you prefer are extremely like unrebuttable. Unrebuttable looks like that the opposition can't really point out flaws, and you try to explain them. Never give like one-liners. Try to at least explain those one-liners in 2 to 3 sentences so that everybody gets to know what you're trying to speak at the end of the day. Thirdly, try to give all reasons for why the judge should believe your stance. Note, a judge is an extremely qualified person who actually wants to give you the win, but they are neutral because they're listening to both sides. So it's your just responsibility as a speaker from proposition or opposition to try to sway the mind of the judges. And it's very important because your case then becomes extremely efficient and effective to begin with. Great. Thirdly, in terms of like articulating your research and structure it in the following manner, I will explain the following manner in the little later stages of the slides. What does articulation look like? Articulation looks like presenting or trying to portray or trying to highlight. How do you do research? I will explain that little later as well. I think this slide and this entire session actually gives you a comprehensive idea of how do you actually want to research and how do you want to ensure that your structure is very clean. You can't have messy speeches. Messy speeches is like, judges, I want to explain this, but you jump to point C without explaining point A and point B. So you have to ensure that you actually follow a proper structure. This looks like explanation, trying to give an example, trying to substantiate why that example is relevant, and then trying to explain what is the logic behind that argument, etc. All of these things, right? So I hope you've like gone through this one thing in your school. I think a lot of teachers in your English classes tell you to write an introduction, then body, then conclusion. It is something that is like extremely relevant in classes as well. Just raise your hand, whoever has gone through this extremely like boring process of introduction, body, and conclusion. Exactly. I think most people have. I have. Most of my teachers actually told me to write an introduction, then body, then conclusion. It's true for every English writing format. This looks like letter writing, essay writing, article writing. Just write in heading, explain it, then conclude it. That's all. This is how you also write answers in social science as well. Great. Just like lower your hand so I know that you guys don't have a doubt and you're just agreeing with me. Great. Any doubts till here? I'll pause here for 5 seconds. I can see 2 hands. First, I'll take Nithilian and then Vaibhav.
Kaushiki, before that, I'll just answer one of the most asked questions. So everyone, just make sure that you're not going to be judged on just, rounds. So if you lose 2 rounds, doesn't mean that you can't play third round or you don't show up for the third round. So how we mark you is basis of the cumulative or the average score of the 3 rounds. So each student will be getting 3 chances to qualify, and you have to show up for all the 3 rounds because the average scores are going to get considered for you moving to the semi-finals. I hope that clears the doubt.
Great, thanks Devika for qualifying it, for clarifying it. I will be taking all the doubts. Like if I miss anything, we will be having a doubt clearing session like after I'm done with the matter as well. So don't worry about it. Great, I'll take Nithilian and Vaibhav then. Quick.
Ma'am, I have a doubt in the structure of the constructive speech, ma'am. We should talk fully defending our motion, or we should also talk offending our motion in the second reply speech.
You should defend your stance at all points of time. Make
Okay, ma'am.
sense?
Thank you, ma'am.
Great, Vaibhav.
Ma'am, this was a very long awaited doubt. I've also written in the chat. Just please let me know if I'm wrong. For proposition, there's one reply speech and one main speech, and it goes same for opposition, now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
I
Yes,
just
this is
needed
very
a bit
clear.
of clarification though.
Oh yeah, don't worry. So yes, you will have proposition main speech, proposition reply, opposition main speech, and opposition reply. Main speech is also called constructive. For the formality of it, we will call it constructive. Constructive speech, reply speech. Constructive speech, reply speech. Great. Nithilian, you can actually lower your hand so I know that nobody has a doubt as of now. Great. I'll move ahead and we will start with the introduction. Note, how do you actually introduce a topic? You actually identify a problem, or you try to identify the key terms in your topic. So let's say the key terms, this house believes that, I will just write a motion. This house believes that cars have done pollution. I just made it up. Great. What are the key terms of the motion? Cars and pollution. So you will define what cars are and what is pollution and why pollution is damaging. So it's very important for you to ask important questions when you try to write a speech or when you try to prepare for your motion in the very first place. Second, try to give a brief understanding of what you actually comprehend from the motion. So let's say if you're defending that cars have done more pollution, why do you think it's true? And why do you think cars are the major responsibility that it creates pollution in the very first place? So you just have to give a brief understanding of what you get from the motion. And then start with a famous quote, start with something catchy, or start with a statistic. I think more than 65%, I made that statistic, it might be false as well. So yes, 65% of the cars are genuinely creating pollution in Delhi. So that is a clear statistic. Maybe it's coming from a very credible source. So try to always find credible source for statistics and facts, and try to bring that up as well. You can start with famous quote, you can start with a statistic, you can start with a story, you can start with something which is extremely catching and which is extremely highlighting in the very first place. And then you can introduce the motion like it. I hope most of the people have done a speech competition here. If not, this is how you actually do it. Start with something that's catchy, introduce it, give a brief explanation of what you mean by the motion and why should you defend it. Does the introduction part of the entire speech has a clarity here? Yes, Summer, we will be informing you, don't worry. Yes, yes, Gilly. That's your name?
Ma'am, it's Jilly.
Okay, I'm so sorry, but yeah.
It's okay. So I have a doubt that how do we identify a source it's relevant or irrelevant?
Okay, so some sources are really, really credible. So always go through these sites. I will just write it. So Reuters, you can go to CNN, you can go to like United Nations reports. You can go to New York Times, Guardian, Al Jazeera, Hindu in India. Yes, does all of
Wall
these
Street.
sites? Yeah. Okay, damn. Yes, Julie, is that clear? All of these sites are generally credible for you to like understand knowledge from scratch.
Yes, ma'am. And what about Wikipedia? Is it like truth or false? Because we can edit information in it.
Wikipedia is an editable link, so a lot of people can edit it. So Wikipedia, I wouldn't say is the most credible resource. You can use it for your beginning research. You can just understand the topic, but always use all of these credible resources, which I've also listed down in the chat box. Works well?
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Great. Is the introduction part clear? I'll move to introduction second. I'll take a motion and then we will understand it. So the let's say the topic is India should not adopt Western style education. So in your introduction, you can start by Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. Does anybody know who they are? GK. Give a guess.
Ma'am, I
Yes,
know
Aman,
he.
go ahead.
Ma'am, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan was the second president of India, and he was the first vice president of India. On his birthday, we celebrate Teachers' Day.
Yes, that's amazing. Anybody else? Ahan, that was wonderful. Okay, great. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan has also played a very important role in the education sector as well. So like if you get time, try to read books and articles written by Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan on the education sector and why it is very, very important for every children to have the value of education in their life in the very first place. So they've also written like a very philosophical book on like why education is really important. Great. So this is what you can start with a quote since the topic also has some like Indian context to it. So this is what Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan says: the end product of education should be a free, creative man who can battle against historical circumstances and adversities of nature. Can somebody tell me what this quote actually means? Giving you guys 5. Yes, Neil, go ahead.
Ma'am, so the first part says that people should understand whatever knowledge they're getting, and they should use it in a way that they'll become creative. And so that that's all I understood.
Yes, it's amazing. Note, this entire quote is very like deep because Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan says that every man is probably like very free and it is like really creative because they have the capacity to beat all the past and like work in the present and think about the future. So you can start by explaining what Western style of education is, because in the earlier slide I already explained you that what is like you have to introduce by identifying the key terms. So the key terms of this motion is Western style of education. So you start with a quote, identify the key terms, which is Western style education. You can explain what Western style education looks like, and then you can ask a rhetorical question. Like what is a rhetorical question is basically what is the most important question that you want to answer in your speech. This looks like even after 77 years of independence, is India really free from Western influence? So let's say if you try to question yourself in an extremely relevant way and you answer that question, I think your speech becomes very, very productive and it becomes much more qualitative because you already do 3 things in your speech. First, you start with a catchy quote so that every audience is listening to you. Second, you start by explaining the key terms of the motion so everybody has a brief idea of what the motion you are actually talking about. Thirdly, you ask yourself a relevant question and in the entirety of your speech, you try to answer it. Works well? Any doubts? Yes, did everybody get it? This is the introduction. How do you introduce in a speech? Great. You can, like, I'm not saying that quote is the only way you can use it. You can ask, you can generally start with a story. The story should not be long, that it covers like 3 minutes, because that can't be really long. You can't just like spend like 3 minutes of your speech just like telling a story. So try to spend like first 50 seconds explaining a story and how it is relevant to the motion. And then you can start by explaining the key terms, and then you can ask a question and then answer it. You can also identify key terms, like you have to do it. They have been like saying this for so long. But yes, you can start with a statistic, you can start with a fact, you can start with something and an interesting like fun fact that you actually like saw recently, which is related to the motion. You can do anything. Just ensure that you have something which is eye-catching, which is something that's like ear-catching and extremely enrapturing in the very first place. Yes, Pratham.
So during the debate, so we give our introduction in this format. After proceeding with our main points, should we build upon this point or give separate points? That this is my point A, this is my point B, and I would like to conclude by saying, or just stay one point in the start and build around it.
Can you speak a little louder, Pratham?
So during like after the introduction of the debate, so after like suppose we ask the question, should we just spend most of our time on the question, or say, okay, no, this is my point A, this is my point B, and then conclude, or just build up on one single point?
You can choose to do either, but since you have 3 minutes, I want you to utilize it in the most productive manner. Either of the two things can be possible. Like you can spend like one entire like your speech explaining why that entire question can be divided into sub questions and why that entire question is really relevant, because that can extremely be qualitative. The second part can also be true, where you can explain point A, point B, point C. You can have maximum points covered. So either of the two things are possible. It depends on which matter is much more qualitative and which speech is actually bringing more matter. Works well?
Yes, one more question. During the time of speaking, what's a good time we should spend for total introduction and the question? Is around like 50 seconds to a minute, okay? And then
Yes, that's actually a very
minutes
nice
for
question.
the remaining
So you
points.
need to spend like 50 seconds in your introduction, like 30 to 50 seconds, that's all. Spend like a good 1.5 minutes in your main argument, like 1.5 to like 2 minutes, and the next 30 seconds, 20 seconds, or maybe like 10 seconds is good for conclusion. Works well?
Okay.
If you want to divide
Thank
it
you.
equally 1-1-1, if you want to make sure that you spend more time in your argument, like spend 1.5 to 2 minutes. I advise you to spend more time in your body, because that is what like even your school teachers tell you. Spend more time explaining things as opposed to like trying to spend 2 minutes in your introduction, 2 minutes in your conclusion, because that doesn't bring a lot of impact. Great, works. Nirvi.
The programs are research, is it research like allowed?
Okay, Nirvi, you aren't audible at all.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying that is research allowed in impromptu rounds?
That's actually a good question, because it's an online round, so we can't really be surveillancing around that, hey, this person is using the internet or not. But I just want you to be really, really ethical.
So you were breaking up.
To...
Can you repeat what you said?
Sorry?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I was saying that you were breaking up for me, so can you repeat what you said?
Okay. Great. So we can't really stop people from simply like not using the internet, because like it's an online round, so we can't really go around like check up all the way. So I want you to be extremely ethical as well. So try to have your research pre-prepared and try to be extremely ethical when it comes to like not copying and not speaking like from the internet itself. Does that work well? But yes, research is allowed, but not like copying from the internet in impromptu rounds.
Okay, so
Works
if
well?
we state facts in our speeches, it won't be it'll be allowed.
You can, yes, that's absolutely fine. But as long as you're not copying the entire like speech, 3-minute long speech from the internet, works well. You can use statistics. For that, you need to have preliminary research.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I'll take Dhriti. Pratham, I'll take you later. Kiara. Dhriti first.
Okay, so I was just wondering, you said that we're going to be covering the full Odyssey of India, but you also said that there will be three main topics. So, should we study like very in-depth into those three main topics and just roughly cover everything else? Or like, what do you think is very important that we should go through?
Oh yeah, a very good question actually. So note, you don't have to spend like, because ancient India to AI-led India is extremely like 5 main books which can like 5,000 pages. So you need to get a general idea, and you just have to ensure that your research is very streamlined. Just try to understand what the timeline from ancient India to AI-led India actually looks like, and try to have a general idea, and try to just improve your GK and not get into the in-depth, because it might be an like extremely intimidating experience, and it might take you like, I don't know, years to understand in depth. But try to follow a timeline, try to divide and compartmentalize your research in ancient India, medieval India, modern India. Works well?
Yeah, so I actually went through certain sites. They had mentioning few like key topics that are very important. That alone, do you think we should like research a little bit more on, or what do you say?
Yes, actually research on them.
Okay, thanks.
Great. I'll take Kiara.
Ma'am, so the amount of time which you have for both of the speeches is 3 minutes. So under that, for the introduction, you can take 30 seconds. And then for the main part, you can take 1.5 to 2 minutes. And for the conclusion, you can take 10 to 20 seconds. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Great. Krisha, last out.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, yesterday you showed a PDF. In that, it was written questions are not allowed in the format. But you are saying that we can start our debate with the question.
Oh, okay. You're getting confused in the questions. Okay, so POIs are basically counter questioning to the other team. You can't question the other team, but you can ask questions within your speech. Like, what question am I trying to posit, and which question am I trying to solve here? So why are cars pollution? Look, why are cars creating pollution? So, then you answer yourself. Works well. You can't really ask questions to the other team. Works well. Is the doubt clarified?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, amazing.
Excuse me, miss.
Yes, can you please raise your hand?
Yes,
not
this is Vaibhav Jain
interrupt?
actually. I've raised my hand as well.
Oh yeah. Yes, I was about to move ahead, but yes, I'll take like Vaibhav and then I'll move ahead. Nandini, I'll take you later.
Yeah, I just wanted to add another point to this, if I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
Krishna's question. Just wanted to say, there's a rhetorical question which you put in the speech. You are actually not giving the question to the audience. You are giving the question to the audience. You are giving the answer to the question as well as the answer to the audience, not to the opposition team. So it's basically a way to grab the audience's minds.
Yes.
I hope I'm correct.
Yeah. That's amazing. Great. That was a clarification instead. Cool. Let's go to body. Okay, note. You can do one thing here. This is something that's like a very generalized thing. Up to you, however you want to make your speech really like beautiful, how enrapturing or how qualitative. Let's say you have point A, you have point B, you have point C. Explain every point. So, point A can be cars are bad. Point B can be cars are pollutant creators. Third can be cars are not beautiful. I'm telling you random points. Don't take it seriously. I will give you like actual motions as well. So try to explain every point. Outline your point, like just so that you highlight the heading of the entire, like, let's say topic that you're discussing. Same way. Identify arguments. Explain those arguments. Tell me, how are you defending it? Like, what is the inherent value that you're defending? Prioritize the best arguments. I've oftentimes seen a lot of kids prioritize like arguments which are not really relevant. Try to like let's say you're preparing by yourself and you identify 10 points. Amazing. Try to cut it down to 3 points or 5 points maximum, because it's very important for you to not prioritize numerical arguments. Try to prioritize the quality of arguments. Even if you have like one argument or maybe like 2 arguments, the quality of the argument stands and not the number of the arguments. So it's very important for you to prioritize the best arguments and arguments which actually make sense and are the most relevant argument in the very first place. So let's say you have 3 points. Explain why those 3 points are the most relevant and why it is connecting to the motion. Fourthly, explain them with good reasoning and examples. So let's say your point A, explanation, example. Point B, explanation of point B, example. Point C, explanation of point C, example. Works well? Any doubts? I will take your doubt, Dhriti, after this slide, because the slide is connecting to body. Great. So how do you actually make an argument? Let's understand it. So structure of an argument is threefold. You state your claim, you explain that claim, you give an example. I will take a claim. And claim is basically like something that you assert. Assert is you express and you actually point out. So let's say ice creams are tasty. That's my claim. It is my claim. What is my reason for it? Ice creams are tasty. Ice creams are tasty because of added preservatives. Okay, yeah, preservative. Oh my god, preservatives. Or some like taste boards or something. So yes.
Sugar.
So anything, you can have multiple claims and you need to have an explanation of that claim and then you explain it. So the example here can be which ice cream is very tasty. I'm going to take like Havells. No, Havells is a fan company. Which quality? I don't eat ice cream, so I don't know. So yes, quality ice cream is really tasty, so I like it. I also like Nick and Naturals. I don't know about you guys, but yes, this is true. So ice creams are tasty. Why do you think ice cream is tasty? Give an example. Is everything clear? This is the most basic thing I can ever tell you. Oh yeah, exactly all of this, like sugar, Amul, vanilla. Great, amazing. Yes, is everything clear? Yes, now I will take your doubt, Dhriti. It was very connected to body.
I understood with this.
Sorry?
I understood my doubt with this.
Okay, that's amazing. Gul, any doubts, guys? So yes, always try to follow this structure. It is the most general and the most universal format that every debater uses. They have a point, they explain those points, and then they give an example. And all of this is extremely reasonable and relevant throughout. I'll move ahead. How to approach a motion. Before that, yes, sure.
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask, like, how much time will we get to explain explain our points basically?
Yes, again, like a good question. 3 minutes main speech, 3-minute reply. 6 minutes in total.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, I will write it down here. This is proposition, prop, main speech, so that everybody like who has been prop, main speech. 3 minutes. Op, main MS, main speech 3 minute. Reply 3 minute. Op reply 3 minute. 6 minute divided like this. Is it clear? Okay, amazing. Great. How to approach a motion, which means try to read the key terms and define them. So earlier it was a Western style education. Explain what Western style education is and like give an example. Things to look for in a motion. Whenever you get a topic, this is what you always have to remember. 3 things. A problem statement. What is a problem statement? Can somebody explain? This is a new topic. So yes. Yes, Neil, go ahead. Okay, I will take Neil. I'll take Agamveer.
So a problem statement is basically when you're stating a problem and just the problem, like what the problem is.
That's exactly true. I'll take Agamveer. And people who I haven't been recognizing, you can also use the chat box. Like it's absolutely like use it for the productive means and not something which is irrelevant. Great. Neil actually told it right. Lower your hand and then Agamveer.
Like addressing the problem.
Okay, take care. That was it? Okay. Okay, great. Please lower your hand. Okay, a problem statement is identification of what problem are you solving. Note, always remember that your speech should be impactful. You're not trying to change the society, but you're trying to bring, like, identify that, hey, there is a problem in the world and everybody should actually learn about that problem, because every debater is somewhat like a person who actually has like a relative amount of knowledge, but they also want to express their concern in front of the audience, which is why most of the great debaters become great leaders. That is true for every great leader that you have been like reading about in history, etc., because they have been extremely like relevant debaters as well. So always identify a problem and try to identify the solution to that problem. Second, relevant stakeholders. I will now ask a question. What is a stakeholder? Yeah, I see a couple of hands. I'll take like Seher and Nandini.
Yeah, so a stakeholder is basically a person who gets affected by the problem, and I'm not sure if the person who I'm sure that a stakeholder is a person who like gets affected, the people or the community around who gets affected by the problem. Yeah.
Yes, you're correct. Nandini.
Stakeholders are basically people who directly or indirectly get affected by the emotion through many different ways.
Yes, correct. Yes, lower your hand. Yes, you're right. So, when you identify a problem, everything that I've been saying is very stepwise. You identify a problem, you identify people who are suffering from that problem and who are important. So, stakeholders are people who have stake in it. Stake is basically something that's extremely important to them. Thirdly, possible solutions. So, it's like a step-by-step process. So, do not look for arguments on the internet, because this is something that you have to do yourself, because the internet can't really tell you a problem, like can tell you a problem, but they can't really connect you with stakeholders and then like identify you a possible solution. For it to happen, you have to go to ChatGPT, but nobody's using ChatGPT because ChatGPT, like, everybody like a judge can like really understand if you're trying to chat GPT or speech, because it's like very, very generic. Cool. So, always identify a problem. You have to do it yourself. Try to identify people who are affected by that problem and then try to identify solution. A very quick example, climate change. Problem in climate change is like the earth is dying. Who are the people who are affected by it? Which means who are the stakeholders? People, children, parents, society. It can be anything, like the entire world is the stakeholder right now. Possible solutions can be trying to use like reduce, recycle 3 hours, and then try to like switch off the AC, try to have more afforestation, try to reduce deforestation, try to plant more trees. All of these things are basically possible solutions. Note, and try to look for actual definitions. Do not try to make the definition really like narrow or really strict or rigid. Make sense? I will have one practice motion where I will explain this motion. No doubt still here, no?
I have a doubt. It's not related to this, but it's
Okay, I actually wanted you to raise your hand, but sure.
but I have a doubt regarding this competition. So are we going to? It's a trivial thing, I know, but I just got to know that that it has started, and I just joined. So I want to know that if we are in a group or we are singular.
Sorry?
If we are in a group or we are singular.
I can't hear you, Agamveer. Okay. Use the chat box. Great. Cool. Whenever you speak a little louder because your voice is a little mushy. Great. Practice motion.
I know it's because of my fever.
Yep, yeah, use the chat box. Great. Will our topics be analytical or will we have to make a model? It will be analytical. All the practice motion of based on education. Is academia or education going to be a part of every motion? It's an example. Nothing is based on education. It's based on the theme, which is ancient India to AI India. Education can be one of those. I will keep answering the chat box question. Miss, you said that we'll be preparing a mock speech, but what if the motion and who has to do it? I'm a bit confused. I'll get to that. I'll just take up a motion, give anybody a random speech, a random topic, and then you can probably discuss it. Are we going to be in a group or be singular? Singular. Great. Practice motion. This house opposes the publish or perish culture in academia. What is publish or perish? I can give you an example. So, academia, academia is a community, and in that community, you have professors, you have intellectual, you have students, you can have teachers, you will have principals, and you will have faculty members. So these are people who are actually engaged in the education sector for so long. And these are people who write research papers, and these are people who actually teach students, and they actually become professors when they attain PhD, etc. What is publish or perish? It is like academia as a community really encourages every person to write a research paper, and if they aren't really relevant, your career will die. So I will explain this once again. Publish or perish culture in academia actually looks like that you have to continuously publish or you will actually perish, which means you will not have a very nice career trajectory. It will come to an end. Does that publish or perish culture actually make sense? It can be true for writers as well. You have to keep publishing new novels or your career will not work. It can be true for film industry as well. You have to keep producing good films or your career will die. It can be true for anything that's there. Ahan, please raise your hand.
Everyone, please stay on mute. We'll give you time to ask your doubts. Do not interrupt the session.
Yes, that's amazing. Thank you, Devika. I hope this entire motion is really clear to everyone. Publish or perish culture in academia. Great, amazing. Now, can somebody give me any point? Again, the mock motion that I actually told you is not something that you have to prepare. It's like a very normal discussion that we're having. Nothing serious. Tomorrow is going to be a mock practical that we will be doing, so don't worry about it. Yes, Dhriti, sure, you can go ahead. You can speak from any side. You can tell me any general opinion that you have on the topic.
Then I think that the publish or perish is not all bad because it kind of keeps all of the academia people on their toes. It kind of ensures that they are constantly in touch with the reality and all the new discoveries that are being made and all the recent things. So I don't think that publish or perish is a bad thing. In fact, I think it's very useful.
That's a lovely point, Dhriti. Dhriti says that you do not want to oppose publish or perish culture because it keeps everybody on toes. That's a nice point. I'll take Agamveer and then I'll take Nandini and then we'll move forward. You will have multiple motions as well, don't worry. Be quick.
Yes. So what I wanted to ask is, how much time will you get for preparation?
Preparation for now? No preparation. We're just having a general discussion.
So
For the actual day, we will notify you.
No, I mean when the topic is released. How much time will we get to prepare for?
We will notify you because the first 2 rounds are prepared. The last round is going to be impromptu. So the preparation time lasts from 30 to 45 minutes. We'll let you know. Don't worry. We're actually running way before the schedule. So don't worry. We'll get all the information. Don't stress at all.
Thank you.
Great. Amazing. I'll move ahead. Neil, I'll take your doubts later. Let's take a sample argument. Going to school is important. That's your topic. Your claim is, which means your opinion is, school has a negative environment, which means you're going against the topic. So if the topic is going to school is important, sorry, your claim will be school has a negative environment if you're going opposite of it. Your first reasoning is, in school, people tend to compare themselves with others. This is wrong. because pupils should learn how to compete with themselves, because at the end of the day, it matters if you're improving and not if your friend scored more for you. This could also lead to a chaotic and unnecessarily competitive environment. This is true for reasoning too as well. So did you understand? So claim, try to explain it in 2 reasonings or maybe 3 reasonings or maybe like 1 good reasoning, and then give an example. A second reasoning is, as a result of toxic competition, this is coming from this first reasoning as well. The people who have not overall performed well could be bullied by other students. This could lead to immense stress on people who have not done well. Immense stress at an extreme level could cause students to commit, I wouldn't use this word, but trigger warning suicide. Example, an extremely like a person has probably did not do good in test, and the other person is now bullying them because they scored really bad. So this actually creates a very toxic environment. Secondarily, it actually forces you to maybe drop out of school. But thirdly, it actually doesn't really make you feel like you can go back to school. Does that work well? This is how you always have to do it. Structure your argument like this. Give a claim, give a reasoning, give example. That's it. What is your conclusion going to look like? This is the last aspect. Give the judge a gist of what you said, because oftentimes people zone out. Zone out is they aren't focusing. I wouldn't say judges zone out because that's going to be bad, but I want everybody to understand that flagging is a thing. What is flagging? Reminding that I've said stuff. Flagging. Flagging is like, I have proved this, I've proved this, I've proved this, I've said this. Just like remind the headlines of your speech. So give a judge a gist of what you said. This looks like summary. Second, summarize your points. Tell the most important thing that you've proved. For example, in a debate about Western education versus ancient Indian education, if you want India to independently be the sparrow of gold like it was, try to tell why Western education is bad or maybe haven't done really good for the country. Tell why your stance is the best. Works well? Amazing. I'll go to reply speeches. I'll take all doubts by the end of this entire slide, because we will be done really quick and then I can cover up all the doubts. Don't worry at all. Just like hold up for the next 10 minutes maximum. Great. What are reply speeches? These are the final speeches. Some with a nail. Don't just like scratch on the screen right now. Great. What is a reply speech? A reply speech is basically, why do you want to say that you have done the maximum in a round? So what is something that you've contributed in a round? Second, try to tell the best thing that you've said in your speeches. You and your opponents have conflicting views and you need to prove why your argument is much more better. So this looks like that you try to like take both the arguments, then compare it, and then prove why your argument is much more better than the other teams. Pratham, I'll take your doubt very later because I'm just like completing it. Great. Third, in terms of dealing with the main points of your opponents, note it's very 1v1 as a format gives you like limited time to react, limited time to rebut, limited time to respond, because it's not World Schools Debating Championship. It is like a 6-minute speech divided into 2, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. So in reply speeches, it is obviously fair for you to actually respond and rebut, but ensure that you also bring in points which are extremely like tells the judges that your point are extremely important and has made much more contribution as opposed to the opponent. So try to be extremely like comparative. What is comparative? Try to take what your opposition has said, try to take what you have said, and then compare why your side is better. Works well. And structure of your reply speech should be like this: introduction, body, conclusion. Same as your main speech, but reply speech is basically more on summarization. Great. Let's look at the introduction of your reply speech. Introduce again your topic, like whatever you want to actually respond to your opponent. Try to start with the famous quote and everything that you've been saying for so long. Whatever your opponent have said, try to ensure that you respond to it. Respond in a much more calculative manner and try to present why your opinions are much more better than the opponent's opinion in the very first place. Great. Body. This is something that's very, very like coming from the first speech itself. Like the main speech also follows the same format. The reply speech is also following the same format. I will take this example. Let's say pizza versus burger. Which is better, pizza or burger? You can write your preferences in the chat box. I would love to engage. Great. Note, try to outline the point of your responses. Let's say you want to respond to your friend, which means your opponent. So you will try to do it. I have one response, I have two response, I have three response. Then present your opinions, which means present your arguments from scratch. Explain why your opponents are wrong, because note it's a debate competition. Debate competition actually like asks you to have conflicting views. You wouldn't have a debate if everybody agreed with you, would you? Actually not. So it's very important for you to contradict them, to show why your points are actually bad, but do it in a much more polite manner and try to be extremely equitable rather than be extremely like feisty or extremely like derogatory in the very first place. Point out logical flaws in whatever your opponent has been saying for so long. Try to give counter examples. I'll take an example. I think this makes stuff very, very clear. Let's say your opponent mentioned that burger has more nutritional value than pizza. However, that is false, and your proposition, which means you're supporting pizza, and your opponent is saying, burger has more nutritional value, that's logically untrue. And your argument should be then, burger patty is fried in oil, which is not good for health. So whatever my opposition says is actually logically untrue, because according to research, regular intake of burgers can lead to obesity, and it can lead you to much more diabetic, let's say, intake of food, and it might increase your like cholesterol levels in the very first place. Does this contradiction of your opponent's point make sense? Amazing. Great. Let's look at the conclusion part, which means try it again, like in your conclusion, try to give a judge a gist of what you said, try to summarize, try to tell the judge why you actually should win, like summarize everything that you've been saying for so long. Try to tell the judge why your opponent is weaker and why you are substantially much more stronger. And try to end your speech by saying things like proud to propose, proud to oppose. That is how you have to end the speech. You can dedicate this amount of time. 30 seconds introduction. 30 seconds introduction. 2 minutes on body. 30 seconds conclusion. Works well. Try to have this. The division is already in the chat box. Let's understand the marking rubric. How do you get marked by a judge? Sure, I'll take your doubt. Like once I'm done with this like slide, I'm almost done. Just give me 5 more minutes. Great. How do you actually get marked? 3 things: matter, manner, method. Matter is whatever you are saying. So the quality and the creative aspect of the argument is much more highly valued as opposed to the number. So, let's say you didn't have 10 arguments. That's absolutely fine. You should at least have qualitative arguments which can be as less as 2. You can have 2 arguments, but those arguments should be well explained, extremely reasonable. Second, ensure that you're actually relevant to the topic and you're actually picking a side which is much more relevant. Like side, which means try to be relevant, try to fulfill the burden of the debate. Manner is, let's say everybody has to switch on their cameras. It's very, very important. Like during a qualifier, because you should always look in the eye of the judges, and you should look at the eye of the people who are actually looking at you from the laptop itself, because it actually helps them understand if you're really an engaging speaker. And try to engage with people, try to maintain the decorum of the house, do not be disrespectful. All of these things are really important for you to get highly marked in manner. Method is 10 marks. Again, all of these are 10 marks. Method is basically strategy. Strategy is the person really engaging with the opponent. So let's say, you did not respond to anything that opponent has been saying. Do you think you will get high marks in method? Absolutely not. So try to ensure that you engage and actively listen what the opponent has been saying for so long. Second, try to make a structured speech. Try to speak very clearly. Try to practice in front of the mirror and maybe like record your speech and listen twice. Thirdly, ensure that you try to engage and try to rebut. Rebut is basically actively respond to whatever your opponent has been saying for so long. So repetition, 3 things. Matter, whatever you're saying, the quality of your arguments matter. Second, manner in which you're presenting, eye contact, body language, all of these things. Thirdly, method. And also somebody asked in the chat box, will there be a dress code? Try to dress like a human being in terms of like a formal thing. Like you can wear like a white shirt, black shirt, you can wear shirt, like anything which is formal. Works well as long as you're presentable. Great. And yes, here we come to the end of the entire session. Now I will be taking all the doubts. Please raise your hand. Ma'am, I didn't get how to engage with the opponent. Okay, so your opponent said, I will take everything in the chat box right now. I'll just do it. Ma'am, I didn't get how to engage with the opponent. Okay, let's say your opponent is saying burgers are very healthy. So, you know, you engage. Engages, you try to actively respond to it. How do you respond to it? My opponent has said that burgers are nutritional. A, it is logically false. B, I think burgers actually increase your cholesterol level. So this is how you engage with your opponent. I hope I've answered your question. If you don't have doubts, yes, you're feel free to leave. Yes. Ma'am, will the fluency be marked as part of manner? Yes. Ma'am, suppose the opponent is self-contradicting. Can we point it out? Yes. Okay, ma'am. But if you're considering a neutral stance on pizza part than burger, try to actually pick a side. Like if you can't be neutral in a debate, that is the job of the judge. It depends on the pizza. Okay, great, great. How much time will we get for prep? We will notify you. Okay, okay. I have answered this already. Okay. This I've already answered. Okay, good evening, ma'am. Registered, got the payment received. I haven't added though. My friend has, okay. Yes, Abhyuday Bardia, I will make sure that you are added in the group. Don't worry. Yes, I think all the chat questions are done. I am going to stop this. You will get the recording, don't worry. And you will get the PDF. I want you to go through the past recording as well. I'll take up doubts, first Dhriti and then Shaurya.
So I was just wondering, I didn't quite catch exactly like how much time should we spend for the introduction? I feel like maybe I should give more little bit of importance to the introduction. So should I spend maybe like 50 seconds for it instead of 30?
So new. I have told you very standard thing. So I've told you like the universal timing looks like 30 seconds introduction, 30 conclusion, 2 minutes body, because you want to spend more time in quality of arguments. But if you want to spend 50 seconds, sure.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Sure.
I wanted to ask, like, if the person is done for his debate and speech, so should I take out for the opposition also if I'm the proposition? Like, if he speaks some his relevant points, so can I point that out and tell the
yes, you can.
So should I then like take out the information for proposition and opposition both?
Yeah. Again, like if your proposition, speak out for opposition. If your opposition, speak out for proposition. Works well?
8 बजे था ना?
Great, Nandini.
Ma'am, I actually wanted to ask, like, when we get the topic, like, we have 3 rounds, 3 separate days, right? So, for 2 of the rounds, will the topic be the same, or we just have to change sides, like proposition and opposition?
We will let you informed. We are planning to have 3 different motions for 3 different rounds. So you might not be receiving one motion for like 2 consecutive rounds. We want to ensure that we have maximum like learning output. Again, it's different from WSDC.
And when will we be getting the topics?
Very, very soon. We will let you know. Great. Dhriti.
Yeah, sorry. My friend was actually interested in this. So I just wanted to check for our registration still open?
I will let you know. Yes, it is open, most likely.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Ask them to like register in the form.
Okay.
ASAP.
Okay.
Great. Any more doubts? If not, you feel free to leave. Thank you so much for being a part of this entire session. If you have any doubts, personally reach out, write in the group, and ensure that you probably just like look at the recordings and we will be actually fine. I hope all the qualifiers will be in the evening post school hours. Do we have clarity? Oh yeah, we will be having like qualifiers like during the time where everybody probably is like free and every student doesn't have their like exams or maybe like classes clashing with them. We will be ensuring that. Works well. Amazing. Great. Thank you so much for coming, all the middle category students. You guys can like leave. Amazing. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye bye.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.